Just as advertised. I think we talked about it all week. We said what we felt it would be, and I think it was exactly as advertised. That is a tough physical team. Their running back's he is downhill. He runs his feet to be nose to nose with Bush on the 4th and 1 and be able to break free or break enough fall forward for that tackle, speaks volumes of who they are. I think they had the ball on the perimeter. They had it with the tight end coming out of the backfield. They had, just downhill runs, outside runs, quarterback runs. Then they were able to take some shots on a flood route on that sideline. The ball was going really everywhere. It's a good offense. They do a good job of mixing it up. And obviously their defense plays really physical and downhill. And I thought we had a little bit of trouble in the first, half, just being able to just straight run the football. And then you get to, the second half, we involve the quarterback just a little bit more and make a few adjustments in there, take the shot up top off the quarterback run game and, ends up, working in our favor. But I thought overall to overcome the 15-yard penalty on the kickoff, I think it ended in 3 points instead of it, being a touchback on that drive. But, it's a really good football team. We knew it was going to be tough. We knew who they were. We knew who we are as well. And, just a great outcome, especially on senior day.
It's Wayne's touchdown that gives you guys the go-ahead, but then on that 4th down stop that you guys had, it's DJ, 5'9", going up against a 6'2" receiver. How comfortable are you in him dropping into coverage in that kind of moment?
Yeah,
game-changing?
Pretty comfortable. He's elite as far as his coverage skills are concerned. I thought, his eyes are right all the time, and that's probably one of the bigger things with all of the glides and slides and, things they have going on, behind the scenes. I thought there was the makings of a double pass in there at one point as well. I think DJ's the one that you could rely on for his eyes to be right so that he could have an advantage on the play because he knows his leverage, he knows where his help is, and he's not stuck in a situation where he's playing from behind. If you're playing from behind and maybe giving up, a foot in height like you are, you probably have be at a significant disadvantage. But, he positions his body right most of the time, and his eyes are really clean that put him in positions to have, a neutral matchup there or a straight up advantage. So great job.
And then Riley had a pretty good block to get Wayne that hole to run through. When you see a team or when you see a defense kind of get blocked that way with Wayne running, it's usually going to end up at 7 points. How nice was it?
Pretty
to kind
nice.
Of see
That's pretty good luxury, isn't it? You see a good block and Wayne has the ball in his hand and it's going to end in 7 was your statement. And I think it's pretty awesome.
Just talk about the offensive line's performance and being able to set something
because you're
up.
right also. Right.
To be able to set Wayne up after what you said earlier was not your best rushing performance in the first half.
Yeah, I mean, I say it to the O-line before every game and the D-line, and what we talk about is, it starts here. The whole game of football starts here and it ends here. And I usually say it always has, it always will. And at that moment, right before when we really needed to get a first down, we're like, man, this is what you guys are built for. And again, once again, starts here and it ends here. And you have a chance to end this game right here, in that final run. Not only the one you're speaking of, but the final one is, really, they knew we were running. We knew we were running. Everybody in this stadium knew we were running, and we're still able to run and get that first down. And to me, speaks volumes of just how tough this offensive line is, how hard they play and play together.
We've talked to you a couple times now after a game where JE's come away with a pick this time, getting in the end zone. Just how important is he on the outside one-on-one for you guys?
Well, that was just crucial at that moment, too, because we were not moving the ball like we won. I think we had it for 10 minutes. They had it for, 20. And obviously, you could keep the game close when it's a pick six like that. The drive takes 6 seconds. But, ultimately, that 20-10, that wears you down a little bit defensively. And for him to be able to put us in the back of the end zone there was huge. He gave up one that, he certainly wants back. But at the same point in time, there's a lot of other things that went wrong on that play that could have been, never had it ending with the ball in the back of the end zone on his guy. So he is a savvy, confident, sound football player. And there's a couple tackles out there that I was really, happy with.
And what was it like to see Spinagati step into a bigger role today?
Wasn't it? That was something. Like, how he plays, right? You know how he plays. He plays like a wild man, and he is just downhill. And, there's moments where, that straight-up aggression, really works in his favor, and there's moments where it works against him. And, today it certainly worked in his favor to come out of there with 16 tackles. I said it, to the team right before. I don't know who it's going to be. I don't know which one of you, but at some point that light's shining on somebody. Like, make sure you're revealed. And when I watched, Spin go out there when Gannon went down and just put the performance on that he did, and then Wiz, on that big play over the top and be able to pull away. He showed his true speed. He needed to get one in the back of the end zone again, and we just need him to keep doing what he's doing.
To kind of piggyback off of Katie's question, even at this point of the season, do you feel like you learned something new about your offensive line tonight, just for them to kind of get punched in the face earlier in the game and then bounce back at the end?
No, I don't think we learned anything new. I think we know who they are. I think we know who they are. We know how they will continue to fight. And, regardless of, what happens out there, whether it goes their way or not, they know they're close. Like every one of those plays, even the 4th and 1 down there, it was close. Like there's one little tag we put on the run play and we don't have the kid bending off the edge, but it just was what it was. But in the end, they believe in themselves. They have confidence in themselves, and so do we. And that's why, we knew we'd come out at halftime and they'd do what they did.
I want to ask the same question about Alonzo. How did you kind of examine, his emotions and how he kind of controlled the game after facing some adversity?
Very calm as usual, right? Very calm. And I think that, that's the style of play that he ultimately has. But when we needed him, there was a run play in there. There was a draw in there. There was a huge crack block by, I believe, Fife, or it was Lakota, where he pulled one around the outside. We needed something to spark us a little bit because it just wasn't working, just handing it off and playing, 10 on 11. And I thought he did a really good job of that. When he needed to pull it down and get it, he said at the end, like, give it me again if we need it. I'll get the hard yards. And he believes in himself. And we believe in him too.
Yeah, you complimented Washington State's running backs, but talk about some of what you guys did in the secondary, especially with Tony Freeman game 5 catching in the first half, and he only gets 1 the second half.
Yeah, well, I think it had to do with also the pressure on the quarterback. I don't think they got fully comfortable back there in the second, half like they did in the first. We were playing very much into the run game in the first half, and I think we got to the second, and they started to try to open it up, try to pull away a little bit if they could, and I thought our guys did a really good job getting after them. This one down here is just the word would be annoying to watch the quarterback run in the end zone, right before half when we have 2 guys like circled around him and just, both kind of knock into each other and look a little foolish out there. But other than that, I thought our guys, got after the quarterback, which helped downfield.
When Alonzo hit Breeden with that 68-yard pass, be able to tie it up, I mean, how much was that kind of a morale boost and overall confidence boost in a game like that?
Huge, because, we started to involve the quarterback in the run game a little more. The safety started to show up a little bit downhill. And then when that happened, we knew that they could be susceptible to, that play down. It's very similar to what we talked about in Marshall and other places. When we have to start getting in the box and tackle the quarterback with your safeties and the +1, it's going to open you up a little bit to something downfield. So we needed that at that moment. And it was, great to see them be able to connect. And it was a little bit underthrown, and you're like, man, he's going to catch it, but could he pull away? And then he showed his speed a little bit. Did whiz, even though he has a really bad rib right now. He fought through that little rib muscle and got in the end zone.
Kind of going off that play specifically, I know you probably won't want to give it away completely. Looked like Alonzo sold the quarterback power pretty well. Was that play designed for him to drop back out and he just sold it as well as he did, or was it either or?
Yes. No. That's not an RPO. I guess I don't know. We don't have a lot of those, like. He did sell it, yeah. Now, if the safety was out of there, he probably would have kept it. Not necessarily an RPO; it's a play-action shot. But if it got capped off the backside that the corner wasn't there, obviously he could keep it for sure. But that would be more of a PRO, I would imagine, like a pass first, then turn it into a run option.
What's it like to have an offensive coordinator that has those tricks up his sleeve to maybe get himself out of a rut if he sees one where he just has those plays where he can just bust open a 70-yard touchdown?
Yeah, I don't know if it's that simple. It just busts open a 70-yard touchdown, but it's pretty cool when it happens. We just continue to grow as a staff, and he continues to grow. We all do as coaches, and it's pretty impressive, to watch. It was pretty funny because we hit a little pop pass to Fife on this sideline, and it's a play we used against South Dakota State a little while back, and their safety came over and was going, we saw that play before. You didn't think we practiced that play? He was yelling over to me, and I was like, yeah, we had you, though, but it was just a little underthrown. But, that's it. Like, it's all about that chess match that's going on, using aggression against you. How tough are they going to be downhill, and then being able to shoot up top, like we talk about with almost every single week, the way we handle our offense, same way other opponents, handle theirs.
What's it mean for the program to have an undefeated home season?
Yeah, pretty great, right? Regular season, pretty great. That's what you're talking about is this. Just listen to the background. There's 500 people out there in this band, probably the best band in the country out there representing us, and the fans stuck around. And when we really, really, really needed them in the fourth quarter, I thought they did a great job of coming alive and just being present for us and, just creating that atmosphere. It was awesome. Well, I think it says a lot about the staff, but it says even more about the players for their ability to understand it and their ability to, step up and then go execute it. We can talk about whatever we want at halftime. If it's not, received properly and they don't understand the depths of the language and the scheme that we're talking about and they can't go out and execute it, then it's irrelevant. So really it's on them, when it comes down to it.
What has Wayne meant to this team? It just seems like when there has to be a play made, he's in the middle of it somewhere in some capacity. Yeah,
I mean, it means everything. Like he's returning punts back there. He just could protect in the pass game, which you don't notice a whole lot. And then his ability to run the football and put his pads down, and get those plays when we need him the most. We needed that. We needed that big run. Like we were struggling a little bit, and for him to be able to pop that was a big deal. Cool.
On that field goal or fourth down attempt where you guys were deep in.
Go ahead.
Is that one that comfortable in the play call there, and it's just kind of their defense read it well? Is that one that?
Yeah, they knocked us back a little bit. We got to be able to get 6 inches or whatever it was. Like there's no way we're walking away from there. Right down there. Here's what I think happens is that often I think people in the stands, I think, you all maybe think about the negatives of what could happen in that play. And the positives far exceed the negatives at that moment in time. Them back here, with 4 minutes left going for it, all of a sudden they're left themselves in that game when they got it. So, there's also a positive thing that could happen, when you get the first down. And that could be, 4 more points than, what it would be to settle for a field goal when you're all the way down there. We trusted our run game. We trust the O-line. It just wasn't our best executed play.
I mean, if you want to end on a good note, too, about Morgan Suarez' career-long 45-yarder now after a great week last week. How have you seen his development?
It's great. I think he needed that confidence from those games, so maybe me kicking the field goal in that similar situation a week ago gave him a little more confidence, and that's what I was trying to do at that moment, so when it mattered the most, he could go out and execute it in this game.